it's John McCabe. Welcome to the show. Hey, welcome to the John A. McCabe Show, where it's all about accelerating your authority in your business or field of expertise. And we do that by helping entrepreneurs, business owners, authors, experts, and speakers get seen, get heard, get noticed on any device, anywhere, anytime, in as little as 15 hours, also known as the Authority Acceleration Blueprint. Now on today's show, Business Strategies Tuesday, I'm going to share with you a brand new Facebook Live show strategy and how you can have your very own high-end professional Facebook Live show, very much like mine, using nothing more than Skype. Now, with Facebook giving so much attention to Facebook Live content, there's an increasing number of smart marketers and businesses that are jumping on board early to help increase their authority, create engagement with their audience, expand the reach of their message, and even drive people to their website where they can buy their products and services. Now, during the show, I'm going to share with you the 5 steps you need to know in order to create a show that looks professional, elevates yourself and your brand, influences, persuades, entertains, and educates your audience. I'll also go through 24 tips that will help you create a much better show and experience for your guests. Now, much of what I'm going to share with you today is exactly how I structure my live show, and even things that I'm not doing that I know I should be doing. There's one particular strategy that I do purposefully for the sake of the Authority Acceleration Blueprint. I know that much of these live shows will be repurposed for content well after the show is aired. Because of that, I want to get as much value out of one show as I can, creating a large volume of purposeful content. Now, during the show, I'll share with you that one technique that I'm doing that when you hear what it is, you'll instantly get the reasoning behind what I'm doing. Now, this show is a direct result of one of my current coaching clients who wants to create a weekly show on Facebook, but doesn't just want to have it on her, using her phone. She wants a professional looking show to go along with her brand. Now, her biggest challenge, she's not very techy and doesn't want to invest the time and money to learn all the new gadgets, the software, etc. to make that happen. Now, what happened as a result of that discussion is what prompted me to create this episode. Now, chances are there are a great deal of people just like her wanting to create professional looking show, but without the time to learn all the software needed to create the end result. Things like having a countdown timer, a show intro, music, bringing in other feeds such as text, PowerPoints, guests on camera, etc. So during today's show, I'll share with you the 5 steps to creating a great show, 24 tips to make it even better, and some of the software I use to run the show, and a great new solution I'm making available to you. So all you need to do is turn on your webcam and everything is done for you. So don't go away. I'll be right back with an amazing show today on how you can create your very own professional looking Facebook Live show. Hey, thanks for coming back and joining me today on the John A. McCabe Show. Now, today it's Strategy Tuesday, Business Strategy Tuesday, where I talk about various strategies that you can use to increase your exposure, your credibility, your authority, and do it in a short amount of time. Now, today we're going to talk about producing a professional Facebook Live show. I'm going to share with you 24 tips to making your show look more professional, the 5 steps to creating a great show, and at the end I'm going to share with you the solution that I came up with for one of my private coaching clients for creating a professional looking show for her using videos, images, PowerPoints, etc. When all they have is either their laptop or a desktop, a mic, and a web camera. So I'm going to share with you the solution that I came up with for her at the end of the show. Now, one thing I come to realize as I watch other people's Facebook Live show is that the show that I'm actually creating, my Facebook Live show, is a much higher production value or much higher production than what a lot of people are actually creating out there doing Facebook Live. Now, this comes from my experience in creating and producing live webcasts where I am inviting guests to a specific event where I deliver valuable content and typically have them have an offer to sell them or of a product or a service. Now, I've been conducting those over the last couple of years very successfully throughout the last couple of years. So usually the webcasts that I have done in the past will run anywhere from 1.5 to 4 hours, and it's very much like the show that I'm creating. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of videos. There's bringing in either other speakers or bringing in PowerPoint presentations. So there's a lot of things that are involved in actually creating a show to this caliber. So doing that over the past few years is where I gained a lot of the information, a lot of the knowledge, and a lot of the ability using the software that I'm actually using. So today I'm going to share with you a lot of the things that I learned when it comes to producing live cast events that I've incorporated into my Facebook Live show. And as I mentioned, I'm going to talk about the solution that I came up with for one of my private clients that I think you will benefit from as well. So first thing I want to share with you when it comes to doing Facebook Live or live cast, webcasts, or webinars where you are on camera are the 24 tips that I have for making your event seem more professional, so you don't look like someone who's living in your parents' basement. So I'm just going to quickly run through these 24 tips that you can implement right now in a lot of the video that you're doing, whether it be just recording video for content that you're going to distribute later, whether you're doing a live cast, whether you're doing Facebook Live. So what I'm going to do is just quickly run through these 24 tips to making your event seem more professional. Now, the first thing you need to do, which I'll admit, it's a little bit harder than it actually sounds, is to smile more. And it's definitely a little bit harder when you're the only person here and there's no interaction, but you have to be conscious about smiling more to your audience. So just, it sounds so silly, but just that smile will actually come through the camera and come through the video. So number one is smile more. Number two, I see a lot of people doing this incorrectly, is you want to have the camera at eye level so that you're not looking down at the camera, because subconsciously people are going to think that you're looking down on them, that you're at a higher level than them. So you want to have the camera at eye level so that you're in a normal stance and you're looking at somebody eye to eye, so they're at the same level as you are, so subconsciously they don't think that they're inferior. That can happen on a subconscious basis, not consciously but subconsciously. Now the third thing is have your eyes on the camera. A lot of people are doing Facebook Live either with their phone, which is fine because you're holding it out here typically at eye level. But if you're using your computer, your laptop, and your webcam, what a lot of people do is they'll actually look at their screen, and if they're doing an interview with somebody, they're actually looking at the person's image on the computer versus looking at the camera. Now, I know I fall prey to that on several occasions because I have my laptop in front of me and the person's feed is actually on my laptop, but I have a camcorder positioned probably about 6 feet away from me and up, and I know that when I'm doing an interview, I should be looking at the camera, or when I'm just talking, I should always just be looking at the camera and never be looking down at my computer screen, which is what a lot of people will end up doing. Even if they're just doing a show and they're using their webcam on their actual laptop, they're not actually looking at the webcam itself, they're looking at the screen. So be very conscious about where your eyes are looking, and if you're doing an interview, you definitely want to make sure that you're staring at the actual computer, not the computer, but the camera itself, wherever that camera is, not on the person's picture. So the next thing is the frame. You want to frame your shot and make sure that everything in your frame is what you actually want in your frame. So what I'm using here is a green screen. So I've positioned the actual frame of the shot so that you can't see things on either side. So I'm in the correct position that I want to be in. You're seeing exactly what I want you to see. Now the fifth thing is backlighting. So a lot of people will actually set up with their back to a window and try to do a live cast that way. I've actually done that when I'm Skyping with somebody, not on camera, but just Skyping. And I always end up, because typically where I sit to do my work, my back is to a window and there's a window right behind me. So every time that I'm actually Skyping with somebody, I have to either close the curtains or I have to reposition myself so that they can actually see me, so I'm not blacked out, because a lot of times there's too much light coming through and I end up just being a silhouette. So be very conscious of the backlight. Now the sixth thing is the front light. You want to have lights in front of you that are pointing directly at your face. And if you're just sitting at a desk, there's a lot of times you have those desk lamps that are on sort of arms that you can maneuver around. So you definitely want to position that so the light is actually shining on your face, so that the camera is actually picking up the light, and you get a good resolution of a good shot of your face. So a lot of people will actually do this in a dimly lit area and they don't have good light on their face. I mean, I have lights actually all around me. There's a light behind me. There's 3 lights that are pointing directly on an angle to my face. And then there's another light behind me. So I actually have lights behind me and lights in front of me. The only place where there's not light is directly ahead of me, where I actually have the camera. So make sure that you have a good amount of front light so people can actually see, get a good shot of your face, and you know, you're not looking like you're in your parents' basement. The next thing is background. So a lot of times people will be doing these shows from their home, and if you look in the background, there's either clutter, or there's things that are inappropriate, or there's things that are not related to the show. Maybe they haven't picked up their clothes or cleaned up their dishes, whatever it is. Make sure that the background is neat and tidy, that you have some sort of a set. Now, if you're doing a green screen, it makes it nice and easy. But if you're just using your home and you're creating a sort of a set environment, make sure the environment that you're sitting in, whatever is on camera, is what you want to be on camera, so that people aren't seeing the all the garbage in behind you, or you know, the messy house or whatever it is. So setting up in front of a library setting or a bookshelves is nice. Setting it up in a nice corner area is nice. So just have, you know, make sure that the background that is actually on the camera is what you want people to see, and it represents your brand or your image. Now, the next thing is noise. The external noise within your studio or your home or wherever it is you're doing your live show can be very distracting to the audience. So you want to make sure that you're in a nice quiet environment, that there aren't kids running around and there aren't dogs barking. I mean, there was one show a couple of weeks ago where I was pet sitting and you could hear the dog barking. So actually I just brought the dog on the camera so it wouldn't bark anymore. But getting rid of any external noise can definitely increase the professionalism of your live cast or your Facebook live show, or just doing video in general. The next thing is your dress. How are you dressed? How do you want to be presented on camera? Is it representative of you and your brand? You know, you're coming on with a ball cap on backwards and a hoodie. Well, maybe that's your brand. Maybe that's how you want to represent yourself. Or is your brand more, you're attracting sort of a higher level of clientele? So it's whatever is appropriate for your brand. So dress appropriate for your brand or for yourself. Obviously, if you typically never wear a 3-piece suit, then you don't need to wear a 3-piece suit. If you typically just wear a button-up shirt and a pair of jeans, then that's what you wear. Just make it representative of yourself. The next thing is a theme. A theme for your show. Does your show have a theme? Now, my show has a theme on every day of the week is a different theme. So you can incorporate that theme into a lot of your content, into what you're doing, maybe even the background. If you're just doing one show here and there, or maybe one show a week, definitely you can incorporate the theme of your show into a lot of things that you're doing, whether it be your graphics, whether it be the background, even the things you have on the wall. Maybe it's maybe part of it is your education, so it's important to have on the background that you went to an Ivy League school or whatever it is. So the next item are props. Using any props. So if you're talking about a book, you definitely want to have your books available that you can actually show people. If you're trying to read the future, then maybe having a crystal ball so you can read the future. So props really help engage and help sort of create that entertainment, and it's actually tangible, so you can people can actually see things that you're using. Typically, I don't have a lot of props. Sometimes I'll have books that I'm talking about, I'll bring them on. Or if I actually have a guest in the studio and they have tangible products or a tangible book, then we'll actually use those. But so another thing that you can use is props. Now, when you're doing your show, you want to have your bio, as well as if you're bringing on guests, you want to make sure that you have their bio as well, so that you can use the bio in a lot of the verbiage that you're talking about. Now, typically on my show, this is episode number 30. I don't typically read my bio on a regular basis, but when I have guests on, I'll incorporate their bio into their introduction. So if you're just doing your show for the first time, now your bio will include things like any awards, what have you done, who do you help, how do you help them, things like that. So I do talk a lot about those sorts of things in the intro of the show. We know what the show is about and who I help and how I help them. Now, number 13 is prepare a story. So this typically is an interview style show. It's typically a talk show. There are times, such as today, where I don't have a guest lined up or they canceled last minute and I had to come up with a show. So I create some content that I think would be valuable to the listeners, to the viewers. So typically I'm preparing a story. If I have a guest, we're talking a lot about their story and their journey and how they got to where they are and strategies that they used, and just incorporating stories into the actual show itself. Now, today, the story that I'm going to incorporate, I'll talk a little bit later on, is the story about one of my private clients who wants to do Facebook Live but doesn't want to invest in any of the software or learn how to use it or understand how it works, any of that stuff. So preparing a story is number 13. Number 14 is don't point. So never do this to the camera because it's typically you don't want to do that in public. So you never want to do it on camera. So when you're talking to the audience, you never go you. You would open hand like this, and you would give that sort of gesture if you wanted to talk to the audience or point to the audience in any way. So don't point with your finger. It's not cool to be pointing during a live cast. The next thing is interact. As you'll notice throughout this show, I'm interacting with the guests on a regular basis. I have very specific times when I'm acknowledging guests who are joining the show, who leave comments, questions, and I'll get into a little bit why I try not to interact while I'm in the middle of a point, or like going through these 24 points, for example. I see people are joining me. I see that there's some interaction, but I'm not breaking the actual piece of content that I'm actually working on. And I'll talk a little bit about why I don't do that. But you definitely, throughout the live event, you definitely want to interact with your guests. You want to engage with them. And it really depends on the purpose of the show that you're trying to create. Now, I have a very specific strategy, a very specific purpose, so I'll talk a little bit about that shortly. And the next thing is make sure that you're ready for the show 15 minutes prior to the show actually going on, because the last thing you want is to be scrambling. Make sure you've tested everything, your connection is good. Which reminds me, I just had to do a double take on my connection, but just make sure that you have a good connection, that you have good streaming video. You want to make sure that you have your data, your internet data, your upload speed is preferably over 10 megabytes per second, but at the very least 5 megabytes per second. Never try to do something for less than 5 megabytes, and don't use Wi-Fi. You want to definitely connect your computer directly through an Ethernet cable into the actual modem or into the wall where the modem is connected or runs through, because the Wi-Fi can get interrupted a lot more often than the actual feed directly coming from the modem itself. So 15 minutes before, make sure that you have connected, make sure that you've tested everything out. Now the number 17 is prior to actually getting started is to restart your computer. Now there's been several times when I've done this show I haven't actually restarted my computer, and what ends up happening is I can see the CPU usage with the program I'm using, the Wirecast program I'm using. It shows what percentage of my CPU is actually being utilized to run this show. So right now it's running at 18 to 23% usage for my CPU. There have been times when I haven't restarted and there's been a lot of things in the cache or whatever the stuff is that, you know, it slows down your computer. But I've been running at 98, 99%. And I know when I see that red at 98, 99%, I'm just saying to myself as I'm doing the show, oh, I hope it doesn't crash. I hope it doesn't crash. So unfortunately, a couple times it actually, I lost the feed and we got it restarted. But I try to make it a habit of restarting my computer prior to every live event, just to make sure that I get a good feed coming through. There's nothing, there's less things clogging up the internet, clogging up my internet feed, things like that. Less usage of the computer. So when I log on, after I restart, I try to close all my programs except just the one that I'm actually using. So number 18, actually I talked about this a little bit, is your connection speed. You want to have at least 10 megabytes per second if you can, upload speed. That's very important. So when you're searching for internet, just make sure, do the speed test. You can do that by going to speedtest.net, and you can run a speed test on your upload speed as well as your download speed. So that's very important. And as I mentioned, you want to have a connection. You want to connect live or hardwire into your computer is much better and much more stable than running Wi-Fi. Number 19, no file sharing. And a funny story, when I was interviewing John North last week or the week before, I noticed that his Skype, now John's in Australia, I noticed that his Skype feed would sort of cut in and out on a regular basis. And I knew it wasn't anything on my side. So come to find out after it was all said and done, I said, John, your Skype kept cutting in and out on a couple times. He goes, yeah, I forgot that my kids are running file sharing programs. So BitTorrents, they're uploading and people are uploading from their computer or downloading from somebody else's computer. So there's a lot of file sharing, which takes up a lot of the bandwidth. So you want to make sure that there's no file sharing. The kids have turned off their BitTorrents, and so that can interrupt your feed. Number 20 is no upload. So basically don't be uploading things at the same time. So don't be uploading movies if using your same computer, or uploading videos to the internet. Make sure your children or your spouses or anybody else in the home that's using the Wi-Fi is not uploading things at the same time, because that can definitely cause some interruption or in your feed. The next thing is number 21 is in-ear monitor. So a lot of times I'll see people that have guests on, and they have like the big earphones on and the mic like this. It definitely looks like you're sitting in your parents' basement, and so you want to go with something like this, which is just an earpiece that you actually connect. It's like an anchor, or like you see the Secret Service agents or the CIA, they're wearing these earpieces that they just tuck in your ear, and they go behind your shirt and down. And I have it connects actually into my laptop, so that when I'm Skyping somebody, the feed actually comes through my laptop into my ear. So when they're talking to me, that's how I hear them. So you don't have that echo. So you don't have an echo. So the other party needs to have an earpiece in. So a lot of times they're just wearing earbuds, like the iPhone earbuds or something, so they can hear me and that has a microphone on it, or they actually have a microphone. But try not to wear the big earmuffs as much as possible, because you look a little less professional. The next thing is having a microphone, and I'm using the Yeti mic, the Yeti Blue. Is a great microphone. You can also have the wireless, the lapel ones. I started with the lapel one, but I noticed that the sound quality wasn't as great, so I switched to using the Yeti. It's a much better sound quality. So make sure you have a microphone, that you're not just using the microphone that's on your phone or the microphone on your computer. Number 23 is a webcam. Now the laptops are getting much better. There's a much better resolution when it comes to the actual cameras in our laptops. I know this is a 1-year-old MacBook Pro, so it has a very good webcam in it. But you want to make sure that you're using high definition camera as much as possible. For my production, I have an actual HD camcorder that I've connected into my laptop. That's what I use. But if you can get the Logitech, you can get the HD cameras right now that are just as good, that are much easier to use and much simpler. And the last thing, number 24, is if you're using Skype interview, one thing that you can do is you can actually, there's a call recorder with Skype. So if you're actually doing a live cast similar to this, and I stream people in, if you want, you can actually record the entire Skype interview using that feed. Now, there's not a lot of reason to do that when you're doing it live, but let's say you wanted to do an interview, bring somebody on, but they're just not available. You can actually have a Skype recording with them, or Skype conversation. Record that Skype conversation using Skype or call recorder, which is an add-on for Skype, and then you can play that during your live cast as a video, as a clip for the live cast. So those are 24 tips that you can use to actually increase the professionalism of your Facebook Live and just doing your show, or even just doing your regular videos. It'll definitely increase the quality of your show, give you a much better presence. It's much better for your brand. So things like that. So those are the 24 tips in making your show more professional. So the 5 steps to creating a professional looking Facebook Live show. Step number 1 is to prepare. Now you want to prepare what you're actually going to do throughout the show. So in a lot of cases, even though you're doing a Facebook Live show, and a lot of times you're creating content or you're delivering value, you still want to have an offer. And there needs to be some kind of a hook attached to your show. There's some other pieces. You want to have a show flow. Any handouts, you want to make those available, and you definitely want to have a call to action, because even though you may not be selling something, you still want to have a call to action. You still want people to connect with you. Maybe you're going to offer them something free, so you need to know what that is. So in the preparation for your show, you always want to start with the end in mind. So what is your offer going to be? You know, what's the big deliver? What's the big promise that they're going to get from watching the show, this particular episode? What do you promise the audience, that they're going to receive when they watch the show? You also want to let them know who the show is for. So you need to identify them. Typically, at the beginning of the show, in my show introduction, I make it very clear this show is for entrepreneurs, business owners, authors, experts, and speakers. So if you fall into that category, then this show is going to be for you. So if you don't fall into that category, then there's a chance that you're not going to really get the kind of value that you want out of this show, because I've geared it towards reaching that audience and helping them grow their business by strategies, entrepreneurs' journeys, and coaching advice and other things like that. So if you don't fall into sort of that demographic of entrepreneurs, business owners, authors, experts, and speakers, then there's a good chance that this show is not going to be for you. So you want to identify them right up front, so people don't get too far into the show and they realize that, why am I even watching this show? It's not for me anyway. So, it just helps. It's better to have a smaller number of people, but a very targeted number of people watching your show. It's great to have a lot of people on your show live, but the more important thing is the reach of your show after it's actually aired. It's great for engagement, having people on. You can engage with the people. You can answer some questions throughout the actual live show. but really it's the engagement you're going to get, or it's the purpose of my show, for example, is to repurpose a lot of the content so that I can get future engagement by turning it into clips and turning it into blogs and social content and directing people to the website, which potentially is going to end up selling them on some products or services. So my desired outcome for every single show is what the desired outcome of my target audience is. They want freedom, they want to accelerate their authority, they want more leads, they want to do more business. So this show is going to help them through strategies and through stories to actually help them achieve that. So throughout the show, and a lot of times when I'm actually doing these shows without a guest, typically I'll teach something and I break it down into a number of steps. So today it's the 5 steps to creating a professional looking show. So as I mentioned, the first thing is prepare your offer, your show flow, which is basically knowing how long you're going to spend on each topic. So how long is it going to take for your intro? How long is it going to take to introduce your guest? How long are you going to take per question? How long do you assign per question? When are you going to change graphics in and out? I've done this now so that I'm not changing a lot of graphics because I'm actually the one running the show. So it's very difficult to actually to be the producer and be the host at the same time. So I just typically I'll stick to keeping whatever content is on the screen, keeping it on there throughout the duration of the show if I'm just on here by myself and I don't have anyone else producing it. So that's the step number 1, prepare. So getting your offer, knowing what your offer is, what's the big deliver, the big promise to your ideal target market or your audience, having a call to action at the end, which is contact me for more information, go to my webpage to download the free gift, whatever that is. You want to make sure that you have that right at the very beginning before you get too far in the planning of your show. So I just want to welcome June McDougall. She just joined us. And if you have any questions about any of the content that I'm talking about, just definitely leave it in the Facebook chat. And I'll try to get through to it throughout the show. If I can't, I'll definitely answer it after the show in the Facebook comments. So if you're just joining us, you're watching the John A. McCabe Show, where it's all about accelerating your authority in your business or field of expertise. And we do that by helping entrepreneurs, business owners, authors, experts, and speakers get seen, get heard, get noticed on any device, anywhere, anytime, in as little as 15 hours, also known as the Authority Acceleration Blueprint. Now today I'm sharing with you the 24 tips to improving your Facebook Live experience for you and your guests, and 5 steps to creating a professional Facebook Live show and a solution where you can get a professional live show with nothing more than a computer, a webcam, and a mic. So if you have any questions, just type them in the chat, and I'll definitely get through them at throughout the show. Now the second step is producing your show. So that's actually creating the show, understanding, having a variety of different elements in there, how to present your show. So, you're going to want to have a studio of some kind, or you're going to use a green screen, virtual sets, real sets. Now I have 4 real sets, and I have a variety of virtual sets, which I run through because I'm in front of a green screen. So this set here is actually a virtual set. I have 4 actual sets. I have a library set, I have a news anchor set, I have, the green screen set, and then the other set is a corner sort of a seating area where you can do a one-on-one interview. So what is your studio going to be? What are you going to have for overlay for different effects for your show? Are you going to have things at the bottom of the screen? You notice it says the Authority Accelerator Coach. That's called a bottom third. Are you going to have those things? Or are they going to be coming in and out during the show, where you're just going to keep one up there at all times? Are you going to have any different images? You'll notice that I have 2 different images on my show. I have the TV screen over here that has the big image on it, and as well as I have the image down below in front of the podium. So those are just images that I can actually change in and out if I wanted to, but I just leave them because it's too complicated while I'm actually hosting the show and trying to run this at the same time. Am I going to have any PowerPoints, any videos that Skype in? Typically, I'm using the TV here. If I'm running PowerPoint, you'll see the PowerPoint, or if I want to bring a website up on screen, it's coming up on the TV. Anytime I Skype in a guest, it's on the TV. If somebody comes in live to the studio, they're sitting beside me here inside the studio. So what effects are you going to sort of have to overlay into your Facebook Live when you're doing this? Now you'll notice that there's a lot of people that are doing Facebook Live. They're typically just sitting in front of their camera, they're holding their camera up, or they're just sitting in front of a webcam. I know Andy Falco, he has a one main set that he's using right now. I know he probably has a couple other sets, he can talk about that, but I see him, he's using a one main set, and he overlays some graphics, and he has things running in and out. So he's very familiar with what it takes to actually run this and be a host at the same time. It gets somewhat complicated, but if somebody else is running it for you, then they can have things moving in and out on a regular basis. It's much easier when somebody's doing that for you. So that's a little bit about the overlay effects. Some of the elements of the show. One of the biggest ones is the show flow. That's when that's the timing of the show, and typically when I have a guest on, I'm very good at the timing. I know how many questions I need to ask, and typically I have extra questions lined up in case the person isn't they're short answer people and they're giving very short answers. Then there's times when people are long-winded, and I sort of have to cut them off and go to the next segment. And what I use to break the segments is, you'll notice that I keep introducing myself or keep introducing my guest. Typically after every 5 to 10 minutes is I'm reintroducing the segment, the show, or the guest. Now that's done for a couple of reasons. One of the biggest reasons is a clear-cut editing area for my outsourcers to be able to take the video, and they know whenever I start that introduction that is a new segment that they're actually going to clip. So typically each show will have anywhere from 4 to 6 different segments, because I reintroduce the show or reintroduce the guests 4 to 6 different times. So that's important. That's part of the show flow. Having the lights, other elements include the lights, the equipment, the stream, the set, your logo, your opening animation, lower thirds, graphic elements. Or am I going to use a keynote or PowerPoint? Do I have pre-recorded things? Sometimes I have pre-recorded, typically what I'll do is in the morning, I'll actually pre-record the intro and pre-record the outro. It just makes it a lot easier when you're running your own show versus keep changing in and out. And it just makes it easier, again, for the outsourcers when it comes to editing, rather than just have one full length. I'm trying to cut it up into as many segments as possible, just to make it easier for my outsourcers to create very distinctive clips that I can then repurpose and use in the future. The next thing, another element, is the offer or call to action. Like I said, typically when you're doing a show, you want to have an offer or call to action, because the show is really your opportunity to share your message. So you want to turn ideas into the videos or the shows. You want to use it for launching books or education or doing giveaways. You use it for content that you can distribute later, which is what I'm using it for. The Authority Acceleration Blueprint is, I use this and I create a lot of content from this, and it's really done to increase engagement and to drive people to the website where I'll sell them on products or services, or get them to engage with me through the website. And you can use it for turning the videos into a training course, or driving traffic to sales events or online workshops, that sort of thing. The third step is to get attention, is to promote your show, and not only promote your show, but promote it after it's already been aired. So you really want to get attention. You want to grow your audience. You want to convert them into attendees at the beginning, and getting them to show up. But you also want to, after the show has been aired, you want to use the show to grow that audience even more and engage with them. So what is it you can teach your ideal audience? When you're promoting your show, you want to think about what it is you can teach them. Right now we're performing this via Facebook Live. So one thing you can do, one thing I do, I'll just sort of go through my authority acceleration blueprint, is from the show I'm getting it transcribed, and then that transcription is getting turned into blogs and books and social posts, and then the video is actually getting edited, turned into a video podcast and an audio podcast, and it's getting cut up into various clips, and then those clips are going to be used for content as well. So we'll do very specific clips, and we'll promote those and create engagement using those as well. So all of this is done to promote the show in the future, as well as to promote myself, my brand, and the solution that I offer and how I can help who my ideal target market is. So promoting the show using the content from the past shows, and you can use things like Facebook ads or Google ads or things like that as well. Putting clips on YouTube for promotion. That's a great way for promoting your show, but there's a lot of stuff that you can do free. Instagram, we're creating Instagram posts, we'll be creating Pinterest posts, and just engagement through all of this stuff to attract more people, to get them to the websites where we'll actually sell them on products or services, or get them on the list so that we can actually engage with them that way as well. And you also want to use your partners, any partners you have, any friends to help you promote your show. Every time I have a guest on, I send them the images so they actually can promote the show as well to all of their following and all of their friends, to try to generate more interest for your show. So that's something that you can do as well. And you also want to seed, when you're promoting the show, you want to ensure that you're talking to your ideal target market, and you're attracting people who are your ideal customers to watch the show, because you're going to deliver on that, whatever that big promise is that you're going to deliver on. So throughout the show, you definitely want to seed the call to action at the end as the obvious next step for the people that are watching the show. So get your audience to help promote the show. So typically what I say is, please like, love, share this. Share it on your Facebook feed, send it to your friends, send it to anybody who might be interested or you might get some value out of this. So please share it, which actually I didn't say at the show. So the show is almost over, but please share this with everybody on your Facebook feed. It is greatly appreciated. You definitely want to use this for your customers, or get your customers to share it as well, to help promote it, especially if they're great customers, especially if they've given you testimonials. So getting testimonials from your audience will definitely help out in promoting your show, and even using case studies within your show. Those types of things can definitely help promote your show as well, to help build your audience. So you have to think of it in two different ways. There's promoting your show before the show airs, and then there's all the promotion that you do after your show is aired. So my strategy, my philosophy, the authority acceleration formula says that for every 1 hour of content you create, you need to do 10 hours of distribution and engagement. So whether you're doing some distribution and engagement prior to the show, or you're taking that 1 hour show, you're cutting it all up, you're repurposing it, and you're using it for engagement and distribution afterwards. So what you want to do is, if you're doing a 30-minute show, you want to make sure that you're doing at least 5 hours of promotion for that 30-minute show. Just not only promoting it at the beginning, but promoting it once it's already been aired, and using a variety of different promotion methods, such as creating social posts, creating images that are that relate to the content that you shared on the show, turning it into a video podcast or an audio podcast, creating a blog article or a couple of blog articles based on the content, and a blog article that's designed to get people to actually take action and get them to sign up for whatever it is your product or your service, or get them to want to find out more information about your solution. So that's a little bit more about the promotion aspect. But the next thing we're going to talk about is the fourth step to creating a professional show is the influence, persuading, and entertaining your audience. So you want to get more comfortable on camera. So by doing that, you want to speak to one person. Typically, you want to speak to your ideal target market, your ideal client, or your avatar. So basically focus on your best client. There's a lot of stuff that we're talking about obviously is utilizing Facebook Live for business. So you're going to want to do, you're going to want to speak to your ideal target market or your best customer. So when you're talking to the camera, you want to make sure that you're talking to that one person. And you always want to use singular verbiage. So a lot of times you want to say you or me. So it's just like you're talking to that one person. So as you are watching the show, so there was two elements there. So as you notice I didn't point, I open hand and gestured towards you. But I said you, not everyone. So you makes it seem like I'm talking specifically to you versus everybody else that's watching the show. So as you are watching the show, you notice that I am talking specifically to you, not everybody. So you want to make sure that you're focused in on your ideal target market. And when you're talking on the camera, try to get comfortable and try to talk to that one person who, picture your best customer. If you haven't done the avatar exercise, just think of your very best customer, the one that you love the most, and pretend that you're talking to them on the other end of the camera. So generally, as I've said several times, Facebook is not designed to be selling, so there's not a lot of pitching throughout the show. It's not act now before these 10 things are sold. So it's generally providing value, and that's really what Facebook Live is all about, is delivering value to your audience, to your ideal target market, to you, and not trying to sell everything, but you don't want to, as I was talking about, you don't want to be general in what you're talking about. You want to be very specific, and you want to focus in on your ideal target market. So don't try to be everybody's friend. Just focus in on that one customer, and if it resonates with them, it's going to resonate with the type of people that you want to do business with. So we're talking about the fourth step, which is perform. That's really influencing, persuading, entertaining your audience. So as you're talking to the camera, you want to speak to the one, or your ideal target market, or your avatar. So you also want to think like a news anchor or a producer. You want to have things in sound bites or short segments. You want to keep it brief. You want to, what's in it for me sort of scenario. So you want to get to the point. You want to talk about how it's going to help your ideal target market. You tell them what you just told them, and you tell them again. So when I say keep it brief, one thing you'll notice is, as I mentioned before, I keep reintroducing the show. Well, that's to make sure that the segments are easily edited after the fact. So, and I'm trying to break it down so there's at least 6 different segments in the 1 hour show, because I have the intro and the outro as well. So trying to keep it brief, even though it's a 1 hour show, I'm trying to keep it brief within that time frame. As mentioned, it makes it much easier to edit the clips in the future. So for creating new content. So if you need some examples, just watch the news, for example, and just all the short little segments that the news has in a 30-minute show. So that's sort of how you want to try to structure your show as much as possible in shorter segments. Remembering your ideal client's desired outcome always, which a lot of times is freedom of some sort, time. They want to make more money so they can have more freedom with their family, whatever the benefits of your solution is that's going to get them the desired outcome. Always remember that. Always think about that when you're crafting your show. You want to practice it. You just want to be consistent and persistent. Just start the show, and if you're uncomfortable with speaking on camera, then it's going to be a hard time. But one thing I can let you know is that if you just start and you just keep doing it, it gets better and better. I remember, like, even when I started this show, I've been on camera many times. I've been on the TV several times. I've been on radio several times. And I've spoken in front of hundreds of people many times. But when I started my first Facebook Live show, I really didn't even have a structure. I was just on the camera, just talking. But it was really, it was actually just doing it. So what you need to do is just start doing it, practice, do it consistently, persistently, and it'll actually get better over time. But if you go into it having a structure, having an understanding of what it is you're trying to achieve through your show, then you'll have a much better show right at the very beginning. So practice speaking in front of others, practice in front of your family, and remember throughout the show, keep seeding sort of what the offer is going to be at the end, whether it be connecting with you, getting more information. Always talk about what it is that you want the person to take action on. So mention it several times throughout the show. You definitely want to use words like imagine, and you want to inspire people. You want to sell the dream. So is it easy? Does it work? And can I do it? Are three of the questions that people will ask on a regular basis. So this Facebook Live thing, is it easy? Yes, it is. Does it work? Yes, it does. Can I do it? Yes, you can. But then it's a matter of at what level do you want to do it? You just want to grab your camera and hit go live and then start talking, because that's as easy as it gets. It doesn't get any easier than that. Or do you want to actually have it more professional? Do you want to actually have a plan, a structure in place? It really depends on you, sort of how you want to actually do it. Throughout the experience, you want to try to overcome people's objections. You want to, talk about results continuously if you're, when you're teaching something, as to why you're teaching this stuff, why it's important to them, so that they are going to get this or achieve that. You're always thinking about the end in mind. Remember that, getting them to take action. And the last thing, body language, lean in. It's much easier for me because my hands are behind the camera because typically I'm just always moving my hands, but it would be distracting. So since the computer's there, you actually can't see it. So it's just easier for me. But you want to lean into the camera, so hopefully it's drawing you in. I'm not fidgeting. There's not a lot of gadgets around. The only prop I have is my phone. That's just so I can see the comments. Like Andy Lockwood seems to be leaving me a ton of comments right now, which I'll get to shortly. And be sure to smile, laugh, use props. And when it's all said and done, go through your videos after they've already been done, see what you can do better. And of course, dress for your audience, making sure you're wearing attire that is representative of you and your brand. So the fifth point is, fifth step is profit. What you're really trying to sell is hope and transformation. What will your life be like after you use my solution? Remember, it's easy. Does it work? Will it work for me? Those are three questions that you're always needing to answer whenever you're talking to your ideal target market. So what's your audience looking for? Well, even though you're using Facebook Live for engagement, they're still looking for magic buttons or silver bullets, or they want to compress time, or they want shortcuts, or they want the secrets, or they want to change things. They want more freedom. They want better lifestyle experiences. They want to increase the value. Maybe they want to have more recognition or admiration, or they want to differentiate themselves from the market. So when you're educating your audience on whatever it is you're talking about, keep those things in mind. You always want to be have that in the back of your mind, that whatever you're delivering needs to sort of answer some of those things, or remember that those are the things that your audience is actually looking for. So keep that stuff in mind when you're crafting your live cast or your Facebook Live episode. So it helps when you're doing your call to action at the end of the show. So other things that you can do is, it's called casting a wide net. You know, it's saying things like it's getting harder, not easier, and then show them how what you're talking about makes it easier. How what you're talking about is going to give them an unfair advantage. You know, maybe they need to, in order to build their authority, maybe they need to get seen, get heard, get noticed on anywhere, anytime, on any device. So things like they need to be in the pockets or screens of people, whether they're in their bedrooms or their cars or their living rooms. You would need to be on every computer, every phone, every tablet, get their attention, their engagement. So what are you doing right now to help them do that? So how is your solution going to help them do that? Even if you're educating people using Facebook Live, you always want to have an end call to action, which is get more information, free downloads. Typically when I'm having guests on, a lot of times that they're giving away a free download, which is going to help them in their selling their products or services. So if it's something that you're interested in, there's always that free download at the end. So that's the fifth step. And I see that I'm over time, so I'm just going to share with you the last item that I wanted to talk to you about is the solution on how you can actually have a professional show like this with nothing more than your computer, your webcam, and your mic. Now, this solution comes from a conversation I had with a private client who wants to have a Facebook Live show once a week, 30 minutes once a week for 12 weeks to accelerate their authority, to build their brand, their recognition, just to expose more people to their solution, what it is and how they do it. So her biggest challenge is she's not techie at all. Some of her biggest challenges are she's not techie. She doesn't want to take the time to invest in software or learn how to use it specifically for this purpose. She doesn't have the time to invest in a lot of that stuff because she's busy with her practice as it is, has a family, invested time in that. So she wants to do this, but she just doesn't want to do it with just a phone or just looking at a computer. She wants a more professional looking show that has graphics, that has intros, that has outros, but she doesn't want to actually invest in doing it herself. So what we came up with is she can actually have a show similar to mine, a professional looking show. I'm actually going to produce her show for her, even though we're not in the same city. Now, the beauty of what I'm doing is I have the ability to Skype people in, as you noticed, through the past shows. I'm Skyping them into my virtual studio, and they're actually on the screen. So I have the capability of taking that feed and creating any graphics, any set that I want to for that person. So it's not me and them, it's actually them being on in their own set with their own graphics, with their own solution. So the solution that we came up with is she can have a professional looking show just like this by having somebody else produce the show for her, and she just Skypes in or brings her feed into the person that's actually producing it, and they do all the multiple layers. I'm using Wirecast, so I'll be bringing her feed in, and we'll have graphics. We'll be framing her within the actual shot. There'll be a variety of different graphics, and because I'm actually producing it and I'm not actually on the screen, we'll have a lot of graphics, moving graphics within the show itself. So one way to do it, the solution that I came up with my private client, is you can find somebody that's actually producing this type of show right now, and you can reach out to them and have them produce it for you. Now, you don't even have to be, the beauty of this is you don't even actually have to be in the same city. You can be anywhere in the world as long as they have a strong internet connection. You just Skype into that person. If they have the tools like Wirecast, and they can bring it in and they can add all of these graphics. So that's the solution that we came up with for her. So instead of her spending all the time to figure out the software, put it all together, and produce her own show, all she needs to do is Skype into me. Everything is set up for her. She just goes live. I stream the feed live to her Facebook feed, and then once she's on, she just shares her message and does what she's planning on doing for her 30-minute show. Everything else is handled for her, uploading it to Facebook. All of the graphics she's going to provide, and we're going to have all the graphics. We'll have all the topics. There'll be we'll create a show flow for her, all of that stuff. So if you want a professional looking show similar to this, and you don't want to go through all of the expense of learning how to do it and figuring it out and all the time that takes, if you just want to be on the show and have somebody else look after that, find somebody who's actually doing this right now and look to them for producing your show, so that all you have to do is turn on your mic, turn on your camera on your laptop, and the feed is taken directly into a set similar to this or whatever set that they want to use, and you create a professional looking show for them. Okay, so that's all the time that I have for today. I've definitely gone over my time limit, but I want to thank everybody for joining me today on the Johnny McCabe Show, where we talked about Facebook Live and how to create a professional Facebook Live show. So I'm just going to get you to stick with me for just a second, and we're going to switch over to closing remarks for today. So thanks for joining me on today's show, and just stick with me for a second, and I'm going to close out the show with these closing remarks. Thanks for joining me on today's John A. McCabe Show, where we work with entrepreneurs, business owners, authors, experts, and speakers get seen, get heard, get noticed anywhere, anytime, on any device, also known as the Authority Acceleration Blueprint. Now, if you're someone who's looking to take their business to the next level and would like to get some coaching advice, why not apply to be a guest on the show? For most entrepreneurs, we want to create a life of our own, create our own path, and do what we can to reach our own desired outcome, which is generally freedom. Freedom to choose what we want to do, when we want to do it, and with whom we want to do it. A life that is full of options and choices, where we worry less about money and more about the quality of time we spend with each other. A great way to make that happen is to leverage other people's knowledge, time, and skill sets. Step one to reaching your financial freedom is to realize you can't do it alone. Now, working with coaches or being involved in masterminds is a great way for entrepreneurs to move their business forward. A coach can help you shorten the time frame to get from where you are today to where you want to be. While being part of a mastermind is meant to bring entrepreneurs together, all with the goal of helping each other move ahead in their business. Now, the second step to create the life you envision for yourself as an entrepreneur is to implement systems in your business so you can streamline your operations, leverage systems, and free up your time to focus on your family. Having fun were the highest leverage activities in your business. You know, the activities that get you the biggest return on your time invested, the ones that really make you money. Now, sometimes we just don't know what systems we need, how to implement those systems, or even have the time to find out what is needed. Now, working with a coach or consultant that understands, uses, and specializes in systems that can streamline your operations can help you save time, aggravation, and really make you more money. Having a system or strategy that allows you to leverage just 15 hours of your time into enough repurposed content to get you seen, get you heard, get you noticed anywhere, anytime, on any device is a great example of leverage. Now just imagine a system where you would invest just 15 hours of your time, and the end result is you're a #1 best-selling author, you have a successful podcast, you have enough content to get you seen, get you heard, and get you noticed anywhere, anytime, on any device, automatically attracting more attention, giving more value, generating more leads, which enables you to attract an abundance of paying customers. It's also known as the Authority Acceleration Blueprint. Now, to find out more about the Authority Acceleration Blueprint, coaching program, or mastermind, then contact me via my website at johnamccabe.com or connect with me through the show's Facebook page. If you want to find out anything more about today's show, you can contact me at the website and the Facebook page as well. Now again, thank you for joining us on today's show, and I look forward to seeing you on tomorrow's show, where we have another great guest on discussing their business and accelerating their authority. So have yourself an amazing day, and I look forward to seeing you soon.